that's pretty mega in terms of a single offseason to move the needle that much if these guys pan out, which understandably we won't know for months is a huge if. Day 2 of free agency, and Anthony, we're already off to I don't want to say a better start than yesterday. We're off to a very different start than yesterday because it was about 24 hours and 5 minutes ago that the Commanders traded for Laramie Tunsil, and our entire worlds got turned upside down. Everything we were planning on doing, scrap that. No, sir. Not yesterday. We're going to do a bunch of Laramie Tunsil stuff. Today, the only breaking news that's coming through with any urgency as of right now is that Tiger Woods ruptured his Achilles, went under the knife, had surgery on Tuesday. So that's not relevant for NFL free agency, and I don't really know how relevant that is in the golf world anymore either. Outside of they just had that indoor league that looked kind of fun. There's a bunch of funny clips that went around, like good for golf. We're not a big golf show over here, but Tiger Woods ruptured his Achilles. That's the breaking news today. Yesterday it was the Commanders traded for Laramie Tunsil, Anthony. Slightly different days.
Yeah, 2 totally different days, to be honest. But we made a couple of moves today.
For sure. And we'll get into him a little bit. Will Harris, safety from the Saints, signs. He previously was with Detroit. That's where he crossed with Lance Newmark, so another guy that they have some familiarity with. They also bring back Jeremy McNichols on a 1-year deal. But Anthony, here's kind of what I've been chewing on, thinking about over the last, whatever hours since I woke up today. Is there another team that has had a better another of the contenders that has definitively gotten better at the level the Commanders have? And again, I want to set this up / caveat it by saying, I do not think that the Commanders are done, and they better not be done because they still have holes. This is not to say this is a perfect team. This is not to say anything other than what I'm about to say as I say it, right? Has there been another team that since the end of last season has more that's a true contender that has more dramatically changed their roster for the good than Washington? Because I would be hard-pressed to think of one that has. I mean, the Debo acquisition is definitely interesting, but I think it makes them better. They obviously re-signed some really important key pieces. And then nobody's acquired anybody better than Laramie Tunsil, probably. I mean, who else is even in that class? Like, would you say the Steelers and DK, if you put DK up there? I think that depends on what you think of DK and what you think Tunsil has left. I mean, the Raiders are not a contender, so them acquiring Geno doesn't even count. Nobody got Myles Garrett. Someone will probably get Trey Hendrickson. That will be a potential needle mover. But to this point, at 4:07 p.m. on Tuesday, March 11th, is there another contender that has had I want to say a better offseason, but an offseason that has, for 2025, made their football team more betterer than the Commanders?
No, I wouldn't say so. I would say if I was to give a second team, because I think probably the Commanders have had the best, the Lions, they've getting healthy.
Well. They've done well, but
acquiring DJ Reed.
DJ Reed's a great acquisition, but they lose Carlton Davis. It's kind of a wash.
Yeah. I just look at them getting healthy kind of thing. Like all the pieces that they've, had to work around last year, I don't think they'll have those problems going into the season. So that's the only other team for real. The Eagles have lost a lot and continue to lose a lot.
Right.
The 49ers.
The Eagles today trade C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who thanks for helping the Commanders win that game in December last year when you got ejected and did a bunch of other dumb stuff. So they're done with his shenanigans. They ship him off to Houston. They get Kenyon Green, who's been mostly a bust, but he's a former first-round talent that, of course, will be awesome for the Eagles and probably replace Mekhi Becton at right guard, and somehow he'll be good because the Eagles' O-line coach / the Eagles' offensive line infrastructure is better than anyone else in the league. So, okay, let's say Kenyon Green turns into Mekhi Becton. They're neutral there. They're worse at safety probably.
Yeah.
Because although Gardner-Johnson was annoying, he wasn't bad. They lose Milton Williams, so they got to replace him inside, and he was really, really good. Now he's secondary to Jalen Carter, of course. Not worth them paying that amount of money, but they still got to replace him. So, like, the Eagles have maintained their status as favorites. That's for sure. I'm not saying that the Eagles have had a bad offseason, but they haven't gotten better.
Yeah.
Commanders have gotten better. The Vikings, we'll see, depending on what they do at quarterback. I like some of the other moves they made. I think John is a good addition for them. Pricier than I would have wanted, but if I look at the player, fine. He gives them another piece inside with some pass rush. And they signed Fries, the kid out of Indianapolis at guard, to a big deal. So they've helped the interior of their O-line. They've re-signed Aaron Jones, which should make J.J. McCarthy's entrance into the NFL easier. So, I don't dislike at all what Minnesota's done. I just don't know if they're in the same category anymore because McCarthy's got to be good right now. Now, I like J.J. McCarthy and think he can be effective pretty quickly, but he's not going to be as effective probably immediately as Darnold would have been. He's just way more cost-effective and could be as good as Darnold by next year.
Yeah. And to be honest, I might even have to take the Lions out because I forgot they lost Aaron Glenn. They lost Ben Johnson.
Sure.
You got to factor that into it as well.
I still think they're in contenders, but
for sure.
overall part of their offseason,
yeah,
100%. So you got them. The NFC West. Devontae could be a huge the Rams maintaining Stafford, and then Devontae is just a perfect fit for what they need. Think about what OBJ did for them a couple years ago. A precise route runner who gives you something in the red zone. They've got the vertical speed in Atwell, and then Puka being Puka, who, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Puka is going to change his number to 12 to give Devontae 17. So Puka is still there. Kyron's back. Their O-line is back. They, in fact, pick up an extra draft pick, trading out Jonah Jackson, who was, out on their offensive line. So, I think the Rams would probably be close to that list, depending especially on how good Devontae is. And, I think because Devontae has bounced around so much, people underrate how good he still is. He was awesome at the end of last year. And he was really good in Vegas when he was healthy. Just the quarterback situation was a nightmare, and he has been difficult to deal with. It certainly seems, or he's certainly had a tumultuous couple of years here. But he's still an awesome football player, and you get him in the stability of the McVay incubator out there, and I think he's probably the closest guy to Tunsil that's moved.
Yeah.
And the Rams just had to pay him. They didn't have to give up draft capital, which is nice for them. But still, Tunsil, if he's one of the best 5 or 10 even left tackles in football, and then Coleman can be a significant upgrade at guard, and Debo, that's pretty mega in terms of a single offseason to move the needle that much if these guys pan out, which understandably we won't know for months is a huge if.
Yeah, for sure. Really, I have 2 questions. Maybe we can do it in the next segment, but it's off the Laramie Tunsil acquisition. One, I want to ask about the false starts. Apparently, he had 12 last year.
Yeah, he had a lot.
And then also the best lineup. And you and Logan sort of kind of got into it yesterday, talking about where, Coleman will probably be best fit, maybe a right tackle or left guard, or if he wants to bump over to the right guard. I don't know necessarily where you necessarily stand.
Yeah. Tell you what, if we can, I'm going to say this on the air so that you can start trying to work on this now. What are the chances you could pull Logan's answer that we can play for folks if they missed it in the 6 o'clock hour yesterday? So we'll let you hear what Logan had to say about that. I'll give my take on what's next for this Commanders offensive line. I'll answer Anthony's other question as well. And then let's also take a quick look at what the Commanders still probably have on their to-do list over the next couple of days. And then we can get into the phone calls as well, because it is a Vibe Check Tuesday.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.